And now on Radio Lou, we join John Carter once again. This time he interviews Paul McCoy of the Huckleberry Finns.
Hi Radio Lou listeners, and welcome to Radio Lou, Paul.
I'm very happy to be here, John.
That's marvellous. Paul, yeah, the Huckleberry Finns, they've done very well. They've played in lots and lots of places. You can just elaborate on that a little later, perhaps, if you would. But the first thing that we ought to do is you can tell us how it all started.
Yeah, well, the legendary open mic nights at Tom Sawyer's. It all started, really. I think you attended a couple of times yourself there, John.
I did. I think you and I bumped into each other for the first time there, didn't we?
That's right. That was round about 2012, 2013, if I remember rightly.
And Ken was fantastic. He had guitars all round the walls, didn't he? And he was...
Absolutely. Ken was an avid guitar collector, wasn't he? And also a mandolin, I think he had, and a drum kit as well, I believe. I think basically how it all started, John, was the fact that the vibe at the open mic night was such that if someone was doing a song that somebody else knew, it was always a case of get up and join in.
Yeah.
Which was really, really nice, because people got in the habit of playing with other people that they hadn't played with before. And then normally at the end of the night, there'd be a kind of super group event where we'd do something, I don't know, knocking on heaven's door, something with a couple of chords that go round, and everyone would get up and join in. So anyway, it was such fun that a few of the regulars there said, well, why don't we have a band? And that's what happened, basically. It was Paul Sleeth's idea, who sadly is no longer with us, to get a band together.
Yes, Paul was a real character, wasn't he? He was...
Absolutely. And he was very much a regular at Tom Sawyer's.
Yes, that's right, he was. Yeah, held up the bar quite regularly. And who were the other members? We'll talk about Paul a little bit more in a minute.
The original members, there was Paul, obviously. He was our singer, and he used to do a good job at miming playing the guitar. The only person to ever break a string while he was miming playing the guitar, I think.
Very good, yeah. That's
there was Rob Morton on bass, the famous Scouser, James Kingham on lead guitar, myself, I play rhythm guitar, and at the time, a young lad called Rich Ham on drums. Rich was only with us for a short while. That's it.
And who's the current drummer then?
The current drummer is Chris Deakin. Chris was another person who used to come along to the open mic nights at Tom Sawyer's, and unfortunately he joined a land rest band called McCoy, and They rehearsed on a Wednesday night, which was the night Tom Sawyer's ran its open mic night, and so we only saw him very occasionally, Chris, but...
Okay, well, and of course I think you're being a bit modest, aren't you, Paul, because you're not just the rhythm guitarist, you actually do a lot of vocals as well, don't you?
Well, I do a bit of vocals, yeah. I do a bit of vocals, John.
You do fantastic vocals, so...
You're just bigging me up unnecessarily now.
Not at all, not at all. Well, tell me about this Ricky then. Tell me what happened with Ricky, yeah.
Oh, well, the story really is that Rich started off as drummer for us, and we did a benefit gig for an early Lou Music Festival. That would have been about 2013, I think, when they'd only just built, what do they call it, Mally's Shed, it's known as, I think, the glass car park on Wesley Quay. June 2013, that'd be. Rich was the drummer for that, and then Rich decided he couldn't be with the band any longer. We'd already got the booking for Lou Music Festival, actually, so we were sort of scrabbling around for a drummer, and everyone remembered Chris, and what a solid drummer Chris was at the open mic night, so we gave him a ring, and he was happy to come along. So I think we had one rehearsal before we were on the stage at the Lou Music Festival. He performed brilliantly, the gig went really well, we all buzzed off it, a lovely audience, as we usually do have.
Yeah, well, you better tell us about the gigs that you got into, and in particular the work with the Lou Festival.
Yeah, well, I don't know, it was really weird, because there we were, like a few blokes who'd gone to the open mic night, and we were all very amateur, I think.
You just had a vibe. You had a vibe, didn't you?
We hadn't done anything big before. Then we got the booking for the Lou Music Festival itself, and we were just chuffed to find ourselves on a stage. Well, it was in the beer tent on the beach, and the place was rammed. It was our, very first experience of playing with, a sizable audience. I remember James actually was in another band who were performing at the festival, and his band were on the main stage directly after us in the beer tent. And because, as you probably know, the stage management at the festival is so strict, James had to leave us. We still had one song to do in the set on the beer tent stage, so we had to buzz off over to the main stage to set up there. My guitar packed in because it had some dodgy electronics in it, so I just basically grabbed James's Fender that he'd left there, I haven't played an electric guitar for years, but I think we did Brick in the Wall, Pink Floyd. So having a Fender was absolutely perfect for that. So it was great. So that went absolutely brilliantly. Then subsequently, I don't know why, I think it was not long after that, Paul sort of came to us and said, oh, we've been booked to come back, and we're on the main stage next time.
On the main stage, so that was 2014, was it, on the main stage?
That would have been 2014, yeah, on the main stage at Lou Music Festival, and what a fantastic venue. On the beach, overlooking the sea, fantastic weather every time we've played a gig at the Lou Music Festival, which has been every year now since 2013.
Really, yes, because you have an amazing reputation. You play one or two of the local pubs. I've seen you at the Globe, haven't I, a few times. Have you played any further afield? Or?
Yeah, we made it all the way to Boscastle once.
Well, there we go.
because we knew the landlord of the pub there, and luckily it didn't rain that day.
right, okay. But you haven't played in Plymouth or anywhere like it. It just been.
No. I think Boscastle is the furthest we've ever been.
Well, I suppose over the Tamar's a bit of a big step, isn't it? Really,
over the Tamar. Well, none of us have got passports, so it's good anyway because it means you can have a drink.
Yeah, absolutely right. And of course, you always pull the big crowds when you play locally, don't you? You are very popular, and I love to see you play the Pink Floyd songs because I think you play them very well. Tell us, what sort of music do you have in the set?
I'd say basically it's kind of dad rock, isn't it? You look out over the audience, you see a fair few bits of Weird Fish, Old Guys Rule t-shirts, and not exclusively blokes.
Well, I'll tell you something, Paul. I'm very elderly and I enjoy your music, so
I think basically because the average age of the band is, I'm 60. Rob, the bass guitarist, God knows how old he is. He's like ancient. I think Rob used to go to the Cavern Club to watch the Beatles.
Yes. Oh dear.
So basically, it's like our set consists of all those songs that us old blokes grew up with. Mostly.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I know the younger members of the band are usually like, can we not do something that was written after 1970?
Yeah, well, you want to avoid that sort of thing because you lose your popularity if you do that sort of thing.
So we do a few. We try to fit, but generally, it's a funny process to decide what goes in the set. Someone will come to rehearsal and say, should we have a go through this? And basically, we'll jam through it, and because it's normally something that, at least three of us know already the chords to. And it either floats or it doesn't. We'll play it and see how it goes, and it's quite an interesting process. It's funny to see which songs do float and which ones don't.
Tell me a bit about your new singer and something about Paul, perhaps.
Right, yeah. Sadly, it was June last year, actually, that Paul passed away.
Very sudden, wasn't it? Oh, yes, it was a great shock to you all.
It was a massive shock to us, and to everyone, I think. The outpouring of affection around Lou was amazing.
Greatly loved, wasn't he, was Paul?
Yeah, well, he was a Lou character, no doubt about it.
You had to replace him, didn't you?
Yeah. A very, very difficult person. It's very difficult to replace Paul. The band got together just before his funeral, and we said, are we going to carry on or not? And we decided that we really did want to carry on, and that we should look for a new singer. Because I know I do share the vocals, but we really need someone with a bit of a stronger voice to carry the whole gig for 90 minutes.
Yeah, of course, and Paul was a real frontman. He was a frontman, wasn't he?
He was a great frontman. Anyway, as it happened, we'd just been joined by a keyboard player, Ben. So we all came up with the same name, actually. We all basically said, why don't we ask Martin McHugh? Because Chris had played in a band with Martin. Martin is McHugh of the band McHugh. Chris had known him for years. James had played with McHugh, and so he was known to us. And we were quite regular at Lanreth Social Club, and very often we were there because people knew him. McHugh would get up and he played a bit of blues harp, so he'd get up and join in with us towards the end of the gig, and it was all really fun and we all really liked him. So we asked him and he said yes immediately. So that's been going great. We've been trying to indoctrinate him into the Pink Floyd songs. We do like playing them. I think Martin's a bit of a stranger to Pink Floyd, though. He didn't have as much of a misspent youth as we did.
Well, you'll have to give him a couple of CDs and tell him to listen hard, and that'll be good. But well, I suppose with all this terrible virus stuff, it's all come to a grinding halt at the moment. Let's hope it's not too long, Paul, before you do get together again. And I do thank you for having a few words with me. It's been a very interesting conversation. You've been great. We'll wait with bated breath for the next gig for Huckleberry Finns. Thank you very much.